This conversation was never meant for public ears. Yet now it reaches you. In 1954, 1 year before his passing, Albert Einstein allegedly participated in a discussion that was immediately classified. Official scientific circles still deny this dialogue ever took place. However, in our current century, through rediscovered archives of his colleague Dr. Kurt Gödel, these words have emerged. This isn't merely an interview, it's a profound disclosure. The reflections of a genius mind about what exists beyond our final boundary, beyond physical death. I understand how this may sound: sensational, mythical, potentially fabricated. Yet Gödel's manuscript was found at Princeton in 2022, concealed in a hidden compartment of an old safe. The document began with these ominous words: "These revelations could elevate humanity, or potentially ruin it." The interviewer's identity remains completely unknown. No records or archives contain his name. Yet this unnamed journalist became the channel for the scientist's extraordinary revelations. His opening question was deceptively simple, and precisely why it carried such significance. "Professor Einstein, do you truly believe life continues after death?" A pause followed. Einstein hesitated, then smiled, as if seeing something others couldn't, and responded, "Believe? No. At my age, I prefer to know." The journalist attempted to argue, but science, your science, has always rejected the concept of a soul. Einstein calmly interrupted. "Not my science. Academic science limits itself to measurable phenomena. It dismisses anything beyond quantification, but genuine science must be liberated from rigid doctrines and fear. We've ignored the most crucial element too long, that which can't be weighed, but makes us truly human." Thus began a conversation never intended for public consumption, one that might transform our fundamental understanding of life and death. "Life doesn't conclude with death," Einstein stated, gazing intensely as if looking through time itself. "This isn't speculation, it's certain knowledge." He explained he arrived at this through mathematics, not religion, by studying space-time structure. The truth revealed itself not in equations, but in the underlying patterns of cosmic logic. "You mean the soul?" the journalist clarified. Einstein nodded slightly but specified, "I refer not to religious concepts but fundamental principles. Continuation, transformation. Picture an ocean wave. While wind blows, it moves, shines, exists visibly. When wind ceases, the wave seems to disappear, but only superficially. Its energy returns to the ocean, to its source." He paused. "Consciousness is that wave, the body merely its temporary container. When the body dies, consciousness doesn't vanish. It changes state, returns to its origin." The words sounded simple, almost lyrical, yet they carried the profound weight of a revelation centuries in the making. "What about relativity theory?" the journalist asked, attempting to redirect to conventional science. Einstein smiled faintly, his expression showing not mockery but quiet certainty. "Relativity describes matter and energy," he replied. "But there's always what escapes equations, the essential element no system can function without: the observer. We cannot truly comprehend the universe without considering who perceives it. Consciousness isn't the brain's byproduct as commonly believed. It's not effect, but cause. The fundamental component of existence. All we consider real exists only because someone perceives it. Reality isn't just matter, it's constructed through perception. Mystics understood this. I arrived here through logic, through mathematics. Physics provides formulas, but meaning only emerges when there's consciousness to interpret it." Without awareness, the universe is like an unread book. Only through conscious engagement do we give it meaning. I didn't seek mysticism, Einstein admitted, but science led me there. The double-slit experiment, quantum entanglement, unobserved particle behavior, these aren't just oddities, they're clues, encrypted messages woven into reality's fabric. Modern physics, when deeply examined, begins converging with what mystics intuited. Reality isn't static but dynamic, shaped by observation. Consciousness doesn't merely witness reality, it participates in creating it. Every observation is a choice, a point where infinite possibilities collapse into one timeline. Mathematics reveals structure. Intuition reveals essence. Combining them brought me to a third realization. Not hypothesis, but epiphany. Consciousness doesn't disappear. It returns to the source, to universal origin. Not as a story's character, but as the author remembering why they wrote it. If you expect me to confirm God's existence in traditional terms, Einstein began, then no. But if by God we mean not a person but a principle, not an image but the fundamental source, then yes. God isn't an old man on a cloud keeping records. God is the ocean to which all waves return, the unified field of consciousness connecting all life. People seek an external ruler, forgetting God's essence is unity. Everything that ever lived didn't vanish but became part of this wholeness. We don't leave the world, we return to it. Death isn't exile but homecoming. We aren't bodies but expressions of consciousness. And consciousness is how God communicates. I'm not traditionally religious, but I feel this profound connection. The closer I come to life's end, the clearer I see. God isn't about belief, it's about direct experience. It permeates everything, like gravity, but subtler, like light, but deeper. You think this is faith? Einstein asked with a gentle smile. No, it's the result of knowledge. Working on unified field theory, I began seeing an inseparable link between matter, energy, and consciousness. Everything in existence follows patterns, obeys laws, but beyond equations, I sensed something greater. Matter isn't foundation, but manifestation. The atom, considered basic building block, is mostly empty space. But within that space, rhythms, vibrations. And in these vibrations lies intelligence. Physics only scratches the surface. True depth lies in what connects everything. Consciousness isn't produced by the brain, but part of a vast system comprising reality's essence. The deeper we probe nature's laws, the nearer we come to where spirit begins. Science and spirituality aren't opposites. They're different languages describing the same truth. Consider, Einstein said, two particles that once interacted remain connected across any distance. This isn't fantasy, but quantum entanglement, experimentally proven. But beneath this physics lies something deeper. If particles maintain connection, why couldn't consciousnesses stay linked? Perhaps our inner essence remains connected to others after death. This isn't metaphor, but hypothesis emerging from equations themselves. Bonds between beings may transcend biological life, because energy once joined doesn't vanish. It transforms. Consciousness, he suggested, might belong to this quantum network where past, present, and future intertwine. Perhaps death isn't connection's end, but a change in how we experience it. We assume consciousness originates in the brain, Einstein noted. But what if it doesn't? What if the brain is merely an instrument, a receiver rather than source? He proposed consciousness transcends matter, isn't confined to physical space. Like a radio receiving but not creating broadcasts, the brain may merely channel consciousness. From this perspective, death isn't existence's end, but a device powering down. The signal continues, simply no longer received by that body. Einstein was certain. Consciousness isn't bound by space-time. It exists in a broader system. We err thinking identity ends when the body dies. True self is part of an ongoing flow no physical structure can contain. This flow continues after death, just in another form of perception. "Why share this now?" the journalist asked. Einstein looked away as if gazing at eternity's edge and softly answered, "Because my time is nearly gone. I feel the approaching boundary none cross, and I don't want this understanding to disappear with me into silence." He admitted long hesitation, whether to speak or remain quiet. But with years came clarity. Truth, however unsettling, must be voiced when the time comes. Now, he believed, humanity stands at a turning point, facing crucial choices. Technology advances rapidly, but spiritual understanding lags. People have lost touch with what makes them truly conscious beings. Einstein emphasized, this truth must be shared not for sensation, but as warning. Too long we've ignored existence's inner dimension. If no voice reminds us who we are, tomorrow may be too late. Death isn't the end, Einstein stated firmly. It's not termination, but transformation. We perceive it as loss, as finality, but it's really transition. He spoke of necessary paradigm shift. Science and spirituality must unite. Materialist thinking's days are numbered, not because wrong, but incomplete. We've studied reality externally. Now we must look within. Einstein declared, when we accept consciousness continues after death, fear loses power. Then opens a path, not mystical but natural, woven into reality's fabric. This, he said, is evolution's next step. Realizing death doesn't destroy identity but merges it with something greater. Not an end, but return to the whole, to the source from which all comes and to which all returns. What awaits beyond? Einstein repeated the question, gazing into space as if answers resided there. It depends on one's level of awareness at life's end. He explained, death doesn't make all equal. Liberation isn't automatic. Those who lived enslaved to ego, fear, greed remain trapped in perception's illusions. Their consciousness lingers in false forms, unaware of its true nature. But those who sought love, truth, who questioned, continue evolving. They join the source. Find peace not in nothingness, but awakening. Einstein called this a new cycle's beginning, not final destination. He stressed, afterlife reality isn't fixed. It reflects one's inner state. Consciousness creates its own environment. If bound to material concerns, it recreates similar limitations. But if one sought deeper understanding, liberation from illusion awaits. This isn't heaven or hell. It's the mirror of inner growth. Consciousness doesn't end its journey at death, Einstein said. It moves in spirals, returning anew. This isn't fantasy, but nature's way. As nature abhors vacuum, consciousness's energy doesn't disappear. It flows, transforms, learns. Each life isn't period, but comma. We return to complete unfinished lessons, understand what we failed to grasp, heal what we couldn't love. This return isn't forced, it's chosen. Free will drives this process. One chooses to enter peace or re-enter the flow where new experiences await. Einstein described this cycle as growth mechanism, not punishment. Consciousness moves toward light as plants toward sun. Each new existence is a step closer to source, wholeness, understanding. Not reincarnation for its own sake, but journey toward maturity. Why isn't this discussed? He echoed. Because truth frightens. It's too simple for academia, too powerful for existing systems. Great minds knew but stayed silent, not from cowardice but caution. Scientists fear ridicule. Careers depend on conventional thinking. Religions fear losing truth's monopoly. Dogmatic faith rejects new interpretations, and power structures prefer unenlightened populations, easier to control. Einstein said silence is also choice, but not always right. He regretted colleagues fearing honest inquiry, preferring dogma's safety. But truth exists beyond institutional approval. It simply is, even when unspoken. Consciousness is energy's form, Einstein stated clearly. Not abstraction, but physical reality we don't yet fully understand. His research suggested confirmation, thought, awareness, manifestations of subtler physics. We err considering consciousness the brain's byproduct, like mistaking music for radio components. The brain is instrument, not source. The signal comes from beyond, from dimensions our tools can't yet measure. After death, consciousness doesn't vanish, it changes state. As ice becomes water, water vapor, consciousness transitions forms. It continues, just differently. Energy persists, interacts, influences. We connect to it in life, through intuition, insights. This isn't mysticism, it's physics at its cutting edge. We mistake form's end for true ending, Einstein observed. Death only frightens those identifying solely with the body. But human essence isn't physical. It's the field where all is preserved. He mentioned ancient Akasha concept, not fantasy, but model where all experience remains. We sense this unconsciously, through déjà vu, sudden knowings. What seems mystical is field memory's manifestation. Form's death isn't disappearance, but renewal. Essence returns to source, remaining accessible. Nothing's lost, only changed. He stressed, we should fear not death, but losing self-connection. Realizing we're more than bodies, fear dissolves. Then death becomes not enemy, but journey's natural phase. Pain isn't curse, Einstein said calmly. It's teacher, guide, revealer. All suffer. Not because world's cruel, but because growth requires challenge. He compared suffering to fire purifying metal. Without it, no strength, depth, maturity emerges. Einstein acknowledged, suffering seems unjust outwardly, but always offers opportunity inwardly. Endured pain builds compassion, and compassion is unity's path. Each life is lesson, scenario where consciousness tests itself. Some learn forgiveness, others integrity, others unconditional love. Pain is process's part. Viewed not as punishment, but experience, it loses terror. Then even suffering contains light. Humanity is losing its way. Technology progresses while wisdom stagnates. We've forgotten our connection. See foes, not reflections. If we don't remember who we are, we may not survive this century. This is my final interview. But let my words remind, death isn't the enemy. Ignorance is, knowledge is light, and light overcomes darkness. What comes after death? Wrong question. Right question. How we live before it. Truth doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. The key is listening. If this account made you think, leave a like. Subscribe. More perspective-shifting content follows. Share your thoughts on Einstein's words below. We read all comments. Until next time.